To the conscious mind, scanning a line of text feels effortless, a simple intake of information. Take two simple sentences. Sam fell from the ladder. The ambulance arrived quickly. To link these, your brain instantly generates massive invisible inferences, assuming Sam is human and the vehicle means transport. These rapid associations establish the coherence necessary to build meaning. Cognitive comprehension is an aggressive, computationally intense construction process. To understand how we read, we have to look past the words on the page and map the high-speed neural architecture that builds meaning in real time. This construction process is bound by a core biological limitation: working memory. At any given moment, the brain can only hold a small handful of active concepts. As a reader moves through a text, older information must be rapidly flushed from the active workspace to make room for new incoming sentences. For cognitive psychologists, the challenge is tracking exactly which concepts stay active in the reader's mind and which fade away over a story. This invisible mental sorting follows strict rules that can be mathematically mapped and simulated. By translating cognitive psychology into computable algorithms, scientists can predict what a human will remember from a text before they have even read it. Psychologists Jerome Myers and Edward O'Brien identified resonance as the baseline mechanism for how memories activate during reading. Resonance is a continuous, autonomous process. It functions essentially as a dumb system that the reader does not consciously control. Incoming text indiscriminately pings long-term memory. Concepts ring back into working memory based purely on featural overlap, shared characteristics between the text and the reader's prior knowledge. This activation happens regardless of whether the activated concepts are actually relevant or useful to the story being read. This passive resonance stands in contrast to what Walter Kinch calls controlled inferences, where a reader must deliberately search their memory because automatic associations failed to connect the dots. While the resonance model explains how memories fire, it lacks the quantifiable parameters needed to simulate a reader progressing through an entire book. To truly simulate reading, researchers had to translate the biological chaos of resonance into a strict, step-by-step arithmetic algorithm. Paul van den Broek developed the landscape model as a mathematical framework to turn the subjective experience of memory tracking into a computable system. The foundational rule of the model is that working memory is a limited pool of activation, calculated in discrete cycles based on individual sentences. The model uses a scoring system, a continuous scale from 0 to 5 for concept activation. If a concept is explicitly mentioned in the current passage, the model assigns it a maximum score of 5. If the brain needs a concept to establish referential clarity, like figuring out a pronoun, the score is a 4. Concepts required to build causal explanations also receive a 4. Necessary background conditions get a 3, while mere ambient associations get a 2. Without a decay function to make concepts fade over time, the working memory system would crash from overload. The mathematical decay algorithm dictates that if a concept is not reinforced, its activation score divides by 2 in the next cycle and zeroes out completely by the third. By combining these arithmetic values and decay rates, researchers engineered a model capable of processing and visualizing any text sequence. This chart shows the model running a simulation of a night story across 13 reading cycles. The peaks on the z-axis visually represent the exact mathematical strength of a concept at any specific moment in the story. The decay function visibly carves deep valleys in the landscape when a concept is ignored for several cycles. By summing the height across all cycles, researchers calculate a concept's total overall node strength. They also calculate relatedness. If two different concepts peak simultaneously on the landscape, they become highly linked in the reader's mind. This specific mathematical topography accurately predicts 64% of the variance in human recall probability. The tallest peaks in this digital landscape directly correspond to what a human subject will write down on a test days later. The landscape model proves cognitive psychology is capable of generating hard, testable simulations of human thought. Readers are more than passive algorithms. They are agents with specific goals. A higher-order evaluation process actively monitors the baseline resonance output. Switching between study mode and leisure mode alters the threshold limits of the activation peaks. This top-down evaluator acts like an error handling loop in software, triggering whenever the system hits a coherence break. A coherence break occurs when the reader encounters contradictory information or a missing causal link between two events. At the exact moment of a coherence break, reading speed measurably slows down and memory search dramatically expands. A goal like reading for study forces this evaluation loop to be much stricter and more active than reading for entertainment. An individual's conscious intention directly and dynamically reshapes the subconscious topography of their working memory. Perceived credibility and the external packaging of a text act as powerful modulators on this cognitive landscape. An experiment by Garcia Arista tracked how university students process identical textual contradictions based entirely on how the text is framed. In the first condition, students read texts containing clear scientific contradictions, but the material was formatted to look like standard journalism in a language class. In the second condition, the exact same contradictory texts were presented as excerpts from a formal science textbook in a science class setting. Students in the science textbook setting detected significantly more text contradictions than those reading the exact same words in the newspaper setting. High epistemic authority, like that of a textbook, raises the brain's expectation for coherence, causing the evaluation loop to scan aggressively for inconsistencies. Comprehension is a dual-engine system, an autonomous resonance machine generating a topographical memory landscape, strictly governed and overridden by the reader's metacognitive goals and their trust in the source.